And hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the J Squared podcast. Jesse Kass and Jayson Williamson. Jay, we've got a week where we're going to go back on our own, back into some NBA topics. And of course, always with, it's perfect for you because it allows us to just hear some more of your great stories. So I'm excited for this week.
I'm excited too, but I was excited with all these actors and entertainers on too. That was a great change of pace.
I know. Yeah, we're gonna have a few more as well. But yeah, who knew we'd be along with basketball? We'd be the top entertainment podcast, an acting podcast. So,
Involving.
yeah, we got the versatility. So
That's right.
That's good. But Jay, yeah, we talked a little bit about NBA stuff. Obviously, in between our actor conversations, it's still pretty early in the season, so it's hard to judge everything. We know so much can change throughout a long year, but I know last time we talked specifically about basketball, we talked about Zion Williamson a little bit, and I wanted to bring him up again to start here just because it was such an interesting year for him a year ago. Obviously, he was out the whole year with the foot injury. There was all this talk about weight issues. Now he's come back and he's back to his dominant self where he's putting up, 30 plus points, 10 plus rebounds. He's shooting a ridiculous like 70-80% from the field when he's having these performances. So what have you seen from him? And he was obviously the number one pick in the draft in his draft class. How sustainable do you think this is for him to dominate like he's doing?
Well, first of all, let me tell you, he's my nephew. This is a true story. People don't believe this, but my sister is married to his uncle.
Oh,
and
wow.
when he was in the 10th, and when he was in the 10th grade, they introduced us as, over the telephone and, hey, that's your uncle who played in the NBA talking about me. That's Jayson Williams.
Yeah.
And I think this is how the story goes. All right. Well, I know my part is accurate. So he thought that Jay Williams and Jayson Williams, Jay Williams is the great analyst on ESPN or one of these networks that he does a great job, and he was a number one draft pick in the NBA also.
Yeah.
And I think, he went to Duke.
Yeah.
And what happened was Zion in the 10th grade, I went to the then coach of St. John's and told him, hey, man, I got my nephew and this guy's going to be a stud. And he's like, man, we got to win right now. We ain't got 2 or 3 years to be waiting on anyone. So Zion went to Duke because he thought Jay Williams was his uncle, Jayson Williams. And he didn't go to St. John's University. That's the story. I'm sticking to it. He's from Spartanburg, South Carolina. My family grew up in Walterboro, South Carolina. But his uncle is married to my sister. And look, St. John's could have been all over the place with this young man. But let me tell you, he's the nicest guy in the world. And I know he gets a rap every once in a while for taking a shot at the end of the game or doing a dunk and all the things that they put so much pressure on this young man to do. So the other night, he took a shot at the end of the game. We put a dunk and everybody was like, you're up this many points. The game is over. Why would you do that? He's giving the fans what they want.
Yeah.
He obviously, if he didn't do it, and everybody comes to the stadium going, wow, Zion's going to be flying all over the sky. He's going to be doing all these dunks. And if you don't get it, then they're mad. So you're damn if you do, you're damn if you don't. The guy's shooting 60% on the year from field goal range. He's, I think he's coming into his own, but this is the first year I think that he has had a supporting cast to take a lot of pressure off him. To come out of college after, a couple of years and then get onto the NBA floor with all that pressure and then be labeled as just a dunker when this young man who's had so much talent doesn't want to be just a dunker. He wants to be an all-around athlete. So if somebody just comes out and tells you, like Mike Tyson, all you can do is throw the right overhand right and knock somebody out, you're not a boxer. Muhammad Ali. See, Muhammad Ali used to beat him up just to show his skills.
Yeah.
He's just get in there and knock somebody out. And Zion is saying, look, I'm an all-around player. I can shoot the three. I can get assists. I can rebound. I make all my shots in close. I'm not just a dunker. So he had a lot of pressure on him. And now what the Pelicans have done is surrounded him with good players. And that takes a lot of pressure off him. Let me tell you from somebody who knows, it is great to be the sixth man in the NBA. I took that for granted. Playing
Yeah.
behind guys, I was like, all right, I'll come in. I come in, I play 25 minutes. All of a sudden, I'm a hero, right? If we win. And if we lose, it's still on the star.
Yeah.
So this man had tremendous pressure on him. And everybody talks about his weight. My family is big bone. So I'm calling Zion my family. I'm sticking with the uncle stuff.
Yeah.
So, Zion is not fat. He's not out of shape. This is just a big man, just like Charles Barkley was.
Yeah.
This is a great athlete. The only criticism I have with Zion is that he has to learn to come down on 2 feet every once in a while. He comes down on 1 foot all the time, and to be, 285 pounds, to put all that pressure on that 1 foot, that fifth metatarsal, which has a little bone in there called the Jones area, and it used to end a lot of people's career.
Yeah.
This guy is not jumping, like Air Jaminski. Mike Jaminski,
Yeah.
This guy, is up, 45 inches in the air. And to come down with that kind of weight and that wear and tear on one leg is an issue for him. So I think he has to be careful with just coming down on one leg and coming down on 2 legs. I know as simple as that sounds from a guy who, and as he goes on, he's going to get stronger and he's going to put on more muscle, and muscle weighs.
Yeah.
Fat doesn't weigh.
And you can see that.
No, he's a muscular guy.
So you can see that this year. He's like as big,
you can
muscular
see that, right?
as he's ever
and
been.
He's
Yeah.
coming into his own. And let me tell you something. Just one of the nicest young men in the world. So if anybody says, oh, this guy is over the top at the end of the game, or this guy is a great human being. And I'm looking forward to seeing how he changes the world off the court, because he is.
Yeah. No, he's been so incredible so far this season. And I think, like you said, obviously you always want to make sure that someone's weight is under control, but he's in, like, as you said, the best possible shape that he can be in, which is a huge credit to him after having missed a whole year. And then kind of ironically, his size and weight is part of what makes him so unstoppable and why he's shooting, like you said, 60% from the field. Because while he is bigger, he's so strong and he's so athletic, like you said. It makes him one of the more unique players to guard, because he can also take you off the dribble. He can bump you while he goes in the lane and you feel it more than he feels it. And he can finish inside and pretty much anything. That's why he's always been so intriguing, that he has kind of the combination of power and speed and grace and versatility. So I think that, when he puts it all together, and like you said, he's got shooters on the outside, he's got other guys who play tough. It just takes the pressure off him. And, he's been incredible. And yeah, the dunk at the end of the game, like you said, it's a competitive game against the team that knocked him out of the playoffs, a team that talks a lot of shit. So it's like, a team that has also shot shots at the end of the game against their team last year in the playoffs. So, whether it's the right thing to do or not to dunk it like that at the end of the game, you said he's a young guy, he's entertaining the crowd, and, it is entertainment at the end of the day too. So, if that was the whole thing that CJ McCollum said. If you want to stop him, at least be back on the other end of the floor defensively. They had, like, even if you're not playing hard,
it was like
defense,
a pickup game in the park.
Yeah.
Who they had 3 or 4 people back on the other team.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to dunk it. If he didn't, he would have got booed. So,
yeah.
Come on, man. So he's a extraordinary athlete, player. And like I said, he's not going to do anything to hurt the game or try to embarrass the other people. He's just a high intense guy that wants to give the fans what they want. And that, so they wanted him to do that dunk, and you got to do it. And imagine if he didn't do it. Imagine if he would have passed it to the point guard, the point guard would have laid it up. And we all are guilty of that. We are all guilty of taking shots at the end of the game when we shouldn't have. If you played long enough in the NBA, we all have done it. So we get hypocritical, or we want to beat our chest and go against the guy on the other team just to show how tough we are. You should have took that shot. Well, we shouldn't have been down 15 points, 20 points. We should have been there. Save that energy for the game instead of at the end of the game, you guys already won. Why did you take it? And what's the difference between Zion and Charles Barkley? What do you think, Jesse?
Well, I think Barkley is more, obviously Barkley's one of the best players ever. I think Barkley was more skilled when he came into the league. Obviously Zion's got a ton of skills. Like you said, he can pass the ball. He can do a ton of things. Rebounding, of course, Barkley is a better rebounder. I think the biggest difference is probably Zion's level of athleticism. And that's not saying Charles wasn't athletic either, but I think Zion, just the sheer, like we were talking about, muscles and size and strength, or like you've talked about in the past, Charles is more, old country strength. He didn't need to be in the weight room. He would just knock you around anyway. Zion is more of, he kind of has that, and then he has the weightlifting strength, the muscle strength. So I think just kind of more strength and athleticism from Zion, and maybe a little more skill from Chuck.
I think Chuck, they're both two good old countrymen.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Charles is more collard greens and ham hocks, and as we learn to eat better, I think Zion got off collard greens. He's on kale. But,
yeah.
But like I said before, I played with Charles for 2 years. I never seen him get in the weight room. He's just naturally strong. He used to walk by there and go, "What y'all doing that for? Y'all ain't even score tonight," And I remember when I was on the team and we were getting Charles Shackelford on the team. it's the only time I see Charles Barkley come into practice excited. He's like, we got Shaq. How did y'all pull that off? He's like, "No, you got Shackelford." And he was like, "You give me Shaq, you give me Jayson Williams." He goes, "What the hell I'm supposed to do?" So that is just two guys who are undersized, who are very good players. I think that Zion, it's too early to compare him to Chuck. Chuck, look, in '92, Chuck was the best player in the league, and Michael Jordan was still there.
Yeah.
People forget that. He got the MVP. So when Zion starts getting some MVPs, which he will, if he stays healthy, which he will, it takes a few years to figure it out, what your body can do. Look, you go from playing 30 games in college to playing, a whole lot of games, 100 games in the NBA with preseason and playoffs and everything else. So your body doesn't rest. You're on more airplane flights. You're not getting back to your comfort zone, which is your student body,
yeah.
Right? You come off the plane, "Hey guys, what you doing? Let's go here, let's go there." You're getting back and you're going to the strange places you've never been. Your body's not relaxing. You're not sleeping as much. And then you got the whole weight of the world. Not that this young man Zion didn't have the weight of the world at Duke, but at least he had the backing of, 20,000 Blue Demons going crazy with him at every game, Here you go to arena and people want to see you, but they don't want to see you win. They want to see you do a dunk, but they want the other team to win. So it's a strange thing, and you got to do that 50 times a year. So, I think that's a big part, him trying to figure it out, and now he's figured it out, and they surrounded him with some players, take some pressure off him. And, man, when you take pressure off a guy in that position, it changes him. It changes him.
Yeah, and Zion obviously is one of these players who's coming off, basically a missed season due to injury and a scarier injury with a foot injury, and that kind of seems to be a theme of this season as well, where a lot of these superstar level players who are out are starting to come back and find their rhythm. Obviously Kawhi Leonard had his best game of the year the other night. Jamal Murray had a game winner the other night. They both missed the whole year with the ACL last year. Anthony Davis obviously had that player of the week dominant stretch that he's been playing. He missed a lot of time last year. I just wanted to get your thoughts. I know that along with Zion and all those guys, maybe it's just the nature of sports media today or the landscape today, but it seems like people are so quick to write players off, and in really good players too. Like we said, Zion, Kawhi Leonard, one of the all-time greats as well, basically giving up on these guys and saying they're done when they, granted you miss a full season with a significant injury, but it just seems like anytime there's a big injury, people are so quick and ready to write players off. What have you seen with that, and just kind of the bounce back that we're seeing from these guys and getting back to their form?
I think it's just more media outlets.
Yeah.
Because when you were making $5 million back there, it was equivalent pretty much to making $30 million now.
Yeah.
So people go, "Oh, this guy's making $30 million. He only played 10 games this season." Now back then, Jesse, we didn't have a whole lot of, you had a few channels and then you had some cable networks. So you didn't have the big, you didn't have the social media where everybody's analyzing you all the time. Thank God we didn't have social media back then. So I think right now that you're damned if you do, if you're damned if you don't. One of the things they told me, Mike Saunders, who's a great trainer, he always told me, and then Teddy, who was our trainer, and they told us, they said, "Look, Teddy Alzarnico, they said, if you hurt, you play. If you're injured, you don't play. Because look, if you go in there and end your career, then they're really going to say something. And that happened
Yeah.
to me. I went in, I ended my career over a freak accident on a basketball court. I did get a chance to come back. There was a lot of rehab, a lot of bad days where you just figure, my life is over, my career is over. So it's a lot of pressure to come back. And I think the biggest problem is players try to come back too soon. And don't think that teams don't put that pressure on them, and then you're sitting there, especially if your team is losing, and then you're sitting on the sideline and people are looking at you. And so I think that's a big problem in the NBA, for people worrying about coming back too quickly. It's just more media outlets. Back then you sat on the bench and whoever was playing the game of the week, this guy missed this many games. Just think about this. We don't give enough respect. Imagine if they had social media when Wilt Chamberlain played.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain played every minute of every game.
And some Chuck
Right?
Taylors.
And didn't even foul out with some damn Chuck Taylors on. Some freaking Chuck Taylor sneakers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He damn near played barefoot. Playing with Chuck Taylors.
Might have been more comfortable.
He might have been more comfortable running up there, but Shoeless Jackson.
Yeah.
But what happened is, if we had social media back then, a guy hasn't fouled out, played 48 or 49 minutes a game, scoring 100 points, no road management or management or load management that the NBA has, that these guys implemented themselves. If I play 3 games, I'm going to take off a game. It sucks if you're only going to the West Coast, right, Jesse? Say we only go play the Lakers one time a year, and that's your load management day. And you come to watch one of these superstars, and the guys go, hey, man, you know what? I am not playing tonight. Why? Because, I'm giving my body a rest. So that little kid or that fan or whoever's at the game to come see you that one time a year and you're not playing. And social media kind of learned to accept that way. But imagine if Wilt Chamberlain didn't play. Imagine if Bill Russell didn't play. Hell, Bill Russell had to play, and he couldn't even stay in the damn same hotel with the other players.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
He's sleeping on the bed. He's 6'11", and he's sleeping on the bed or on the floor at a African-American hotel, and it has to meet his team and go back there, and he played every game.
Yeah.
So, times have changed. I guess, one thing the NBA does have is a great union.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it's interesting too, right? Because it's kind of that balance of what you're talking about, where, players these days probably should strive to play a little more, like but at the same time, there are the guys who have those injuries or nagging things that, like you said, if you go out there and push it and end up hurting yourself and you're out for a couple months, then you're kind of screwed. So it's the balance of, I guess each player knows their body the best, but it's an interesting dilemma that the NBA has, where you want those guys on the court every night. That's what they get paid for. But you also don't want them to push maybe something that's nagging and then all of a sudden they're out and then you lose them for the season or a couple months or whatever it is. So it's a tough balance for the league to strike, to be like, get out there and play when you're, like you said, I guess that's the difference between being injured and hurt, right? That's what the training staff and the player really have to gauge.
Well, if you get a player that's playing behind you who's pretty good,
yeah,
I've been fortunate enough to have me push some superstars. And then when I became a superstar, and the team was counting on me, I knew I couldn't stay out for so long because the guy behind me was pretty damn good. And I didn't want him to take my job, But I think what happens is we get these long contracts and we get comfortable,
Yeah. No, it's interesting. Like you said, I think that ideally you'd want players playing as often as they possibly can while also protecting their bodies. So, let's move forward to our next NBA topic. It kind of swings back to in a weird way, to the Zion Pelicans thing, but Chris Paul, who's obviously another all-time great point guard, has done so many things in his career, but has been known, even when he was younger and in college and throughout his NBA career, to do some little cheap shots, some dirty plays, whether it's hitting people in the groin or throwing elbows in the neck. He got basically threw an elbow at Jose Alvarado in the neck the other day, just a little chicken wing that was intentional. So just your thoughts on some of those dirty plays, and then I also wanted to kind of parlay that into your time because you played in a real physical time about some, some of the things that you saw, or maybe some of the dirtier players that you saw in your time in the league as well.
I wouldn't consider Chris Paul a dirty player. You know, I didn't get a chance to really play against Chris Paul, but I get a chance to watch every once in a while. I think as you get older as a guard, because you're running 94 feet, well, let's say it like this. Big men run 94 feet. We run from box to box.
Yeah.
Guards run from top of the box to the top of the box, but they're doing a lot of east-west. We just run north-south, get to the box. And when you get older, you can always run. Right now, I can run the 100, right? And that's north-south. But if I have to bend my knees and move east to west, that hurts. That takes a lot of mileage on you, So what I think what happens with, guys and girls that play in this league, in the WNBA and the NBA, is when you have to start and get down and start guarding people, and you understand that these guys have fresh legs, you have to come up with some ways instead of just being a wretched old man, right? Is, to keep up with these guys, because one of the things that I think has left, Jesse, is the respect that we have for the older players in the league. So when back in the day when we came in and Larry Bird was in there, and Larry was always good, but he was still a legend.
Yeah.
And even when Michael Jordan came back, maybe he wasn't as, definitely wasn't as young as he was, and I hate to say this because when I run into Mike, he's going to say, what the hell you mean I wasn't as good as I was when I was 20 and then when I was at 50, But when he got 50 years old and he was still playing, we still respected him, right? When he got there and he was older, and we were like, that's Michael Jordan. Let him get that dunk. Let him get that layup. Now with these kids with social media, when they have 5 million people following AAU and got 100 pair of sneakers and a whole different contract, they come in not even knowing who the hell the next guy is because it's all about them.
Yeah.
Right? So they come in and go, who is this guy? This guy played how long? All right, I don't give a damn. I got to get my social media. I got to get my hits, my likes. I got to get myself up, so they don't have as much respect for the older players as they did before. That's the way I look at it. Because if you did, you say this guy is put me in the position I put my, today. I remember when they gave Michael Jordan like $30 million a year, everybody was pissed off. I was like, well, hell, if Michael Jordan's worth $30 million a year, and I'm 1/3 the player of Michael Jordan, I'm at least worth 10.
Yeah, it raises the ceiling for everyone else. Yeah.
That's right. Everybody should have been happy that Mike came in and pushed the bar for everyone.
Yeah.
And if Mike was in the game, nobody was coming to watch me play like that. They would come to watch Michael Jordan. So you have to understand something, Jesse. As much as we're competitive, and we're not as competitive as we used to be in the NBA or any other sports because of social media. Look, when I saw Charles Oakley, or Charles Barkley, when we got traded and we wasn't on the same team, we were playing each other for real because we didn't have social media where we can hit each other and go, how you doing today, man? How you feeling? How's that foot? It wasn't that like that. Yeah. We had cell phones, obviously, but we didn't call each other. And if we saw each other out somewhere, it's because it's like when your parents right now, right? Your parents come in, and back in the day with my parents, my mom would give my dad a kiss because she knows she wasn't going to see him for 10 or 12 hours or hear from him.
Yeah.
My dad wasn't going to stop as a brick mason and a truck driver at a gas station owner and stop and put a dime in or a quarter in and go, hey, Barbara, how you doing today? How's the day going? No. But now, your parents will call each other 15 times before you hit the parking lot. It is the same way with competition right now. It seems like everybody's friends, or they have the studio gangster mentality, like a rapper who haven't been through anything, but rapping about all this stuff, and they start these little wars that are not for real. When we played, them wars were for real. Them elbows hit where they were supposed to hit.
Yeah.
They hit their mark. So a little tap, a little this. Nah, when we played, it was on. It was for real. And especially because you only have a certain amount of media, Jesse, and that's all you read. Like we had Peter Vesey on here, Fred Kerber, all these guys, the beat writers, all these guys, Mike Lupica, all these guys, and they wrote something like, well, watch tonight's game, or, Charles Barkley said something about Jayson Williams, or Charles Barkley said something about Michael Jordan. That's the only thing we read. So that was, now you read 100 different things and you can sit down in 5 minutes and go, Michael Jordan says something about Tiger Woods, and then you keep scrolling and Tiger Woods says something about Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Oh, somebody made this all up.
Yeah.
So, we just had one place to go get the news and we went by that. I told you guys this way back that I used to do Imus in the morning every other day. And Bernie McGurk, God bless his soul, passed away, used to impersonate me when I didn't show up.
Yeah.
So he would say, oh, I'm going to kick Patrick Ewing's ass and I'm going to do all this to him. And Patrick Ewing used to come to the game and go, why are you talking stuff, man? I go, it wasn't me. But it was only one place to get our information back then, Jesse.
Yeah, that would have been all over social media today if there was a clip of you talking out there about another player. Yeah.
And it was, I think the beef that I had with Shaq, or Shaq had with me, not that I'm good enough to be even in the same sentence with Shaquille O'Neal, is that I remember being on the bus one time and a very good scorer in the NBA who played with us, a sixth man of the year. This guy is great, Chris Gatlin. Yep. And Shaquille were friends. And I used to always say I was the strongest person in the league. And I remember him instigating that between me and Shaquille. Yo, Jayson Williamson, he's strong. He said, gonna kick your butt today. That was our social media.
Yeah.
Yeah,
word of mouth. Yeah.
Right, the word of mouth. Now you can't believe anything. So most guys, just brush it off and give each other a lot more respect than we did back then. I like the physical game more. I like when you come in, it's more competitive than entertainment. I like the, the world has changed. They want to see more points. They don't want to see as much defense. They want to see guys doing dunks and hitting these threes and doing all that. Back then, people used to come in and like go into a hockey game, or, you go into a fight and a hockey game broke out.
Yeah.
So they wanted to be physical. And I think, not that we were more competitive, I think today's athlete is a lot more gifted. They can do a lot more things. But sometimes you can do too many things. I don't want to see Charles Oakley shooting a three-pointer. I want to see Charles Oakley diving on loose balls. I want to see Charles Barkley and Charles Oakley and them guys, getting mixed up. And we wanted to sit in there and go, hey, man, them guys really don't like each other. And it's because of lack of communication.
Yeah.
And the other thing you were talking about was, when you get injured, it depends if you really like your management. Do you like your coach? Do you like your players? How fast you come back. If you don't like somebody and people looking down their nose at you like, oh, this guy is dogging it, then you like, you know what? I am going to dog it, and y'all ain't going to win without me.
Yep.
But I think right now, and we're going back to Zion, is that they put around a good nucleus of guys, and you're talking about Alvarado, who went to Christ the King. I went to his high school because he's a stud.
Yeah.
Not he went to mine. I think he put guys around him that push him and take away a lot of that stuff, and he feels more like he's at Duke than he does with the Pelicans. And I think you have to find what makes a man tick. The late, great Paul Silas, who we just lost, used to tell me all the time, he said, Jay, you're going to get out of this league. Butch Beard and him, great coaches, used to say, you better find something you can do in this league that nobody else can do, and you better make your teammates love you. And don't take shots. If you're up there shooting jump shots and that's somebody else's job, you pushing them out of their livelihood. So I said, what the hell I'm going to do? He goes, look, everybody in the NBA can run and jump just like a deer, But and you have shooters and you have rebounders and you have guys that set pick and jump on loose balls and just run the floor and don't get the ball and open up the lane for the next guy. He said, be that guy and everybody will want you on their team. So, Paul Silas, I called him champ, because he used to work out harder than everybody on the basketball team that was actively playing.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, you a champ, man. And I'm going to miss him, Paul Silas, but he did give me so much advice on doing, he said, look, you're going to be a rebounder? I was like, yeah. And then I started mastering rebound, and he goes, how about being an offensive rebound? Anybody can defensive rebound. Ball might just fall. But if you can become an offensive rebounder, that would really help it, because you're grabbing the ball when the three-point shooter misses it and you throw it back to him like Flip of the Dolphin. You go, oh, you get it, bring it back, do it again, throw it back. I'm going back again and get it. You make that, and then they finally make one and they start clicking, and you can see the whole momentum of a team just change.
Yeah, and of course, like you said, rest in peace to the great Paul Silas, who was tremendous coach in this league for a long time, and obviously, as you said, some of you were close to. Um, touching on what you were saying about just the competitive nature of the game, I think it's really evident too. Like you can tell the games in which the level is higher. Like we were talking about that Phoenix New Orleans game. That was a game where you could tell that was different than a regular season game. Like those teams were intense. They were getting after each other. The two, a lot of these best teams, like the Warriors just played the Celtics in a finals rematch. Like the Clippers played the Celtics the other night, and you could tell the effort level was higher. Now, whether, I guess that's how it has to be in an 82 game season, but that you can tell when there's a difference between regular season basketball and playoff basketball. And it's funny, despite there still is all the element of 3-point shooting and more space today. But when the game gets to the playoffs, it literally is two different sets of basketball from regular season to playoffs. When playoff basketball you watch, the officials have a little more leeway. They let them play more physical. The game kind of grinds down to a halt late in the game. It basically turns back into 90s basketball, your era of basketball when it's the playoffs and they say, it's 2 seasons for a reason. Basketball essentially kind of reverts back to that physical nature. It's just that teams kind of wait to do it until that time of year, and it kind of shows that teams still need to be built in a way that's kind of centered around obviously their defense and being physical late in the year.
Well, not to keep harping on New Orleans, but they got to be one of the best teams in the NBA right now. And last year, when the Suns played them, they didn't have Zion.
Yep.
And now, here they are, their asses in Macy's window, like Coach Carnesecca would say, the whole world can see it at Christmas time.
Yeah.
And now they want to show, the Suns want to show them, look, we can beat you with Zion or not beat you with Zion. So the intensity might have changed in that game. And now when you get to the playoffs, just like Coach said, now the microscope is on you in the playoffs. I think during the regular season, this era of basketball, we're more entertainers. And when you get to the playoffs, you become a lot more competitive and you become an athlete because the microscope is on you. Yeah. And, people are paying much more attention. And now you don't play every night, you play every other night.
Yeah.
So now you got more time to think about it. Look, if I had a bad game, Jesse, I'll go, all right, shake it off. And then why? Because tomorrow we got another one. But in the playoff, you got 2 or 3 more days to think about it. And now you go, look, I got to play hard. I want to play well. I want my team to win because the next 2 days I want to be peaceful, and get ready for the next one, And people pay more attention in the playoffs than they do regular season.
Yeah. All right, Jay, before we get out of here, one of the things I wanted to know, because I've heard other players talk about this too, but trash talk.
Oh.
It was prevalent. It's still prevalent today, but it was especially prevalent when you played. Who was the best or the most memorable trash talker, moments that you remember from your time in the league about guys who would really never keep their mouth shut on the court and really let you know what was going on?
I think some of the best players, Michael Jordan was a great trash talker, but he chewed gum, so you couldn't tell. Mike was ahead of the game, man. Not only did he not have to have people around him like agents and managers to help him, but he understood what he had to do, not get into fights, not give cheap shots, not do this, which when Mike came into the league, everybody was going after him.
Yep.
But, everybody was knocking him down. When he started chewing that gum, it wasn't for what we say right now, concentration, or you start thinking people chewing gum because they hear all these myths about the frontal lobe and all this stuff in the brain. Mike was chewing that gum, and he'd be like this, Jesse. And you'll see his mouth moving, but he'd be saying, boy, if you hit me like that again, I'm going to see you in the locker room after the game. But he understand that he had an off-court persona that he had to maintain. He's probably marketing more items than anybody who ever played the game. So he couldn't be on there going, yo, man, what you doing? Yo, blah. Now, Larry Bird is different. You wouldn't expect Larry Bird with that haircut and his athletic ability, which really was underestimated. Larry Bird was a great athlete. Yeah. He can dunk with the best of them, but he understood that it's still 2 points.
Yeah.
So why waste all those? But he'll dunk on you when he had to. I'll tell you a quick story, and I know you heard this before, because me and you go way back, but my first game was against Michael Jordan and the Bulls. I was with the 76ers, And I was nervous before the game, so I'm stretching out. My team are doing layups. And then all of a sudden, the arena just went crazy. Oh, and I was like, what the hell happened? Somebody did a good dunk on the other team? So I'm looking back this, all of a sudden, this big old hand comes up and says, you're going to have a great career, Jace. It was Michael Jordan. I was like, what? Michael Jordan knows my name. I used to break in the bus stop to steal his poster, put it on my wall.
Yeah.
And here he goes. He knows my name. He calls me Jace. So I was like, oh, my God. So Michael Jordan, I remember this one play. Michael Jordan, we all sitting on the bench, and he looks back at us, and he says, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to dribble to the right. I'm going to cross over, come back this way, spin, go under the hoop, lay the basket, and that referee right there is going to call the N1. And we were like, yeah, right, left, cross over, spin, other side, laid it up, boom, Roddy Nunn, wow.
Yeah.
He looked over at me. I was like, I'm never going to this NBA game. That's the devil right there. Yeah. This guy called everything, and he just looked at us, and he had them eyes right there, and it just pierced through you.
Yeah.
And he went to shoot the free throw, and he shot the free throw looking at our bench. I was like, wow, I really didn't practice well enough to be in this league. St. John's really is a great program because they hyped me up, and I no way should be playing against these guys. My second game is against Larry Bird. We go in, everybody had a rough night like they do when we go to Boston. Not a whole lot to do in Boston at that time. For us, we stayed in the hotel. We stayed in the hotel.
Yeah, you were talking about Bill Russell earlier.
Around at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
In the 90s and when you played the Celtics. But I remember Charles Barkley came in, and he was playing Larry Bird, and Charles had a late night, and Larry was lighting him up. And Larry was just, come on, Chuck, you got to sleep nights when you play me. Just lighten up, Charles. And then so I was like, Coach, put me in, Jimmy. Jimmy Knight, put me in. And Coach was looking at me like, man, did you see the things that you did in the Bulls game last night in your first NBA game? Hell no, I'm not putting you in. So he went over to Armageddon. He put Armin in, and Larry Bird looked at Armageddon and was like, oh, yeah, you in here because you colorblind, and that's why you're on so many teams, because you don't pass the ball out because you can't tell which team you're on. Time you read, Bucks or Celtics, because he couldn't see what the color of the uniform was, he might as well go ahead before the double team came on the post to shoot it. And then he light him up, and then he went and light up Rick Mahorn. And then I was like, Coach, put me in. And we out of players right now. That's the reason I'm getting in. I get in, and he goes, before I got in, he goes, hey, put the rookie in, Coach. I go, put the rookie in? I was like, all right. Now, you got to understand something. When I grew up, Jesse, you didn't go under the bridge, the Manhattan Bridge, because that was Knickerbocker, and that was all the Celtic fans, people that look like you. All the other players that look like me played on this side of the bridge on Allen Street, and they all rooted for Julius Erving, So we were all Sixers fans. So I get a chance to play on the Sixers, and we're going against the Celtics. I know Knickerbocker and the Lower East Side are all watching this. So I go in and go, I got to show them what I have right now, because I know my whole neighborhood is watching this. Man, Larry Bird said, put the rookie in. He put me in. I came in there. I was like, come on, lad. Come on. He's like looking at me like I had 9 heads. He pump faked. I jumped 40 inches in the ground. And I was like, I got to come back down. I'm waiting to come back down like a parachute to get back down. As soon as I came back down, he hit it. I was like, okay. He just hit a 3. So I said, the next play when I come down, I'm not going to jump. So he looked at me and goes, oh, you're not going to jump? Hits another one. I'm going, oh, my goodness. And I'm saying, man, I should have been a brick mason. I got my CDL license. I should just drive truck. I go, all right. So he comes back down. He goes, he's got me jumping, pump faking, going over. And I'm going, well, you can't take me on the post. So I get him on the post. Dude does a pump to the right, swings around, left hand hook, nothing but net. Now I'm going, okay, he took me on the post. He took me on the outside. And I'm saying, what I'm going to do? So I just ran back down after he hit another 3 on me. I lost my mind. I run down just to go, you want to fight? You want to fight? I know I can beat you in a fight. And he looked at me, and he ended up retiring that year. And I didn't see him again. We'll play against him, but I would never look his way when he was coaching, Jesse, until the All-Star game. When the All-Star game came, I got there early. My first All-Star game. So I'm just like, all right, and the other players who've been in so many games, they get there 20 minutes before. I got there 2 hours. So Larry Bird was in the locker room. And he looks in and he goes, hey, your stats and what time you're going in the game would be on the refrigerator. I was like, thanks, coach. Because that's how you do it in the NBA. I don't know if you guys know that during the All-Star game, because we all have sponsors, you actually know what time you're going in the game. So I was like, thanks. I went over to the refrigerator. I looked at it, and he comes over and he looks at me and goes, I want to win this game tonight because winners get 50 grand, losers get 25, and I need the money. And he goes, and I was like, okay, coach, and he looks at me and goes, fucking rookie. He remembered from lighting me up all the way back there. He goes, you got to get me 10 rebounds tonight. And I was like, whatever you said. I was just so glad that one of the best players ever, one of the most underrated players ever, was just my coach and talking to me. So it was just fantastic. Because you get me 10 rebounds tonight, and me and you will be all right. Don't worry about it, rookie. And I went out and got him 10 rebounds. He came in, gave me a pat, and it's one of my highlights of my life that Larry Bird actually acknowledging me.
Yeah. Well, that's a perfect story. That's a great way to wrap up the podcast. I mean, I feel like all these stories that we hear from players through your era are about those two guys in terms of trash talk, Larry Bird and Michael Jordan. And those are two outstanding stories there. Jay, before we sign off, just what do you got going on this week until we're back again?
Well, it's to helping people beat their addiction down here through the grace of God. So we're down at Rebound, and today we're going out on the boat. Tomorrow we're going scuba diving. So, we teach you outdoor adventure therapy with our psychologists and psychiatrists and everybody that go with us. We take you out your comfort zone. So we got a busy week with that. And we got St. John's in town, so, a couple of parties over there to go through and see some of the alumni. So the St. John's game down here in Florida, I'm just excited for all that stuff. Jesse, and then we got a great guest on for Sunday and next Wednesday. So busy with you, busy with St. John's, busy with Rebound, and just glad to be busy and grateful.
Yeah, well, you're, as we've said before, it should be said again, doing great work over there at Rebound. So it's always incredibly appreciated to see the work you're doing to help people. Obviously continue to do that. Amazing stuff there. For our fans out there, make sure, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on wherever you get your podcasts, be sure to subscribe to our show. You'll get all the updates, all the little social videos. We appreciate it all. And we'll be back again next week, as Jay said, with another great guest from the entertainment realm. So that is going to do it for this week, Jay. We'll talk again soon.
Let's go.